So I want to go back to the Robert Jenrick story. Mr Jenrick, of course, is a former immigration minister. He was standing against Kemi Badenoch to be the leader of the Tory party. Didn't quite make it. She did. But he now serves in her cabinet as the Shadow Justice Secretary. Well, he's been linking grooming gangs to mass migration. He says medieval attitudes towards women among some immigrants are responsible. He also criticised Keir Starmer for calling grooming gang inquiry advocates far-right bandwagoners, labelling the remark absolutely disgusting. Meanwhile, what could be the one piece of good news on all of this, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has said that those who cover up or fail to report child sexual abuse could face professional or criminal sanctions under a new offence to be introduced this year. That was one of the, I think there were 20 recommendations in the J inquiry. None of them have been implemented, and Baroness J, I think, was appearing on the media earlier saying actually what victims really want is the implementation, not more prolonged inquiries. Either way, that would be welcome news. Why did it take so long? The Tories didn't do it. Will Yvette Cooper deliver? Let's speak with Mike Neville, former Metropolitan Police detective. Good afternoon to you, Mike. Nice to have you with us as ever.
Hello.
It's interesting that those in high places that covered this stuff up, I guess this new law or rule, whatever you call it, won't be retrospective, so there will be a lot of council leaders and social workers and the like, and maybe even law enforcement, sadly, that'll be breathing a sigh of relief knowing it ain't going to be me, Gov.
It's truly shocking, isn't it, Ian? And some of these people are still serving. I saw that a superintendent who downplayed the abuse in Telford is now an assistant chief constable at the College of Policing. You know, so somebody who downplayed it is now setting the standards of how police deal with incidents. Yeah. And as you say, there'll be all sorts of knighthoods and whatever else have been dished out to senior police officers and council leaders who literally allowed this to go on, who allowed, let's be frank about this, little girls to be raped and abused, and they did it because it would either impact on their career or cost them votes. It's absolutely appalling, and I'm really glad this has come out, because if this was 10 years ago, you'd be burned at the stake for racism, because racism is more serious than murder and child rape and anything else, as we well know, according to the attitudes of these people.
Yeah.
And I'm glad this is coming out now, because, and even Robert Jenrick seems to have had a Saul on his way to Damascus moment, doesn't he? That he's realised that immigration might always be good.
Yeah.
It's a pity that he didn't do something about it in the 14 years that the Tories were in power. So I think
100%.
the Tories and Labour.
Yeah, 100%.
Tories and Labour both guilty.
Absolutely right, and various bods in local authorities from all sorts of departments, and you rightly so. That this was. It's extraordinary, isn't it, given the way that the likes of Keir Starmer reacted to things like Black Lives Matter when a man was killed in the United States, and, you know, Starmer was down there on one knee. What you have here among the catalogue, the industrial scale abuse of mostly young white, almost exclusively young white girls, in addition to all of the obvious crimes of beating, abuse and rape and torture, kidnap, sometimes, you name it. You've also got race hate. I mean, these girls, many of them have testified. I was listening to one victim recently saying, regularly called, excuse the language, a white bitch, white trash, white slag. You know, you're a dirty piece of meat, that you're here for me. This was almost the dictionary definition of full-on racism in all of its ugly forms. And yet the very people that purport to advocate against this simply stayed totally quiet.
You've got to try and get into their head, Ian, you see, because in the heads of the likes of Keir Starmer, only white people can be racist. So everybody else is a victim. If you're a straight white man, you have no victim points whatsoever. If you are a Muslim and do things, you can claim victim status. And this is the problem. In this country, we used to treat everybody equally and fairly. That's how the law should be. Then we started, under Jack Straw, the Macpherson report, this business of if somebody perceives racism. Yeah. This is like thought crime, like the Soviet Union. We used to deal with evidence and facts. And we used to be fair and judge everybody the same, which we should. That's the way we should be. If a black person's racist to a white person, that's racism. If a white person's racist to an Asian person, that's race. It's all racism. But what you find with the likes of the liberal left is that only white people can be racist. And this is the trouble. And these little girls have been sacrificed on the altar of multiculturalism because these people are obsessed with an idea, and the idea is more important than human lives. And as I said to you, it's wicked and evil, and I'm glad it's been exposed.
Yeah, it's interesting that the way it became exposed as well, or kind of re-emerged, because this story's been around, as you know, Mike, for 20 plus years. But now through unconventional means, I'm talking about Elon Musk, suddenly we're talking about it again, and that's maybe no bad thing in this respect, and the frustration.
And people like Maggie Oliver, junior officers who were prepared to speak out, who had bravery, who thought, I really don't care. I care more about little girls than I do about getting promoted. People like Maggie Oliver, she should be the senior police officer, not those who allowed it to go on. Yeah. And we see it all over. You don't have to look at the Tower Hamlets voting scandal and things like that. There's all sorts of crimes been allowed to go on because people are afraid of that accusation of being racist. And we need to clear this out of the way because society is fragmenting, and that is not a good thing for us.
Indeed. Listen, great to have you on, Mike. Thank you. Mike Neville, former Metropolitan Police detective.